Today we're down at the local park and I'm going to show you how I use these conditions to get natural images of small birds. Oh, fantastic. And there's also something a little bit different today with the snow, which I'm hoping to incorporate into my images. A lot of people feed the squirrels and the birds as well here, so they're very used to people. They're almost tame, some of the birds, really, so that makes it much easier to photograph, and it means that you can kind of set yourself pretty much anywhere you want. It's not going to affect the birds coming close. So that's the first job, is to pick a spot. So the idea here is to get those small birds landing in the bush and hopefully perching on those snow-covered branches. I could kind of pick anywhere basically, but at some point you have to make a decision. So I've chosen a spot, we're just going to go for it. This lens, the minimum focus distance is about 4 meters, so if I get too close basically I can't focus on the small birds and they don't fill as much as the frame. So sometimes you just want to go a bit closer. I probably do today. So to enable me just to focus a bit closer, I'm going to put on this 25mm extension tube. It's not actually snowing at the moment, but I'm going to put the cover the lens and the camera, and the reason for that is simply because of the drips. So something to bear in mind, even if it's not snowing, if you've got the snow laden branches like we have today, then at some point it's probably going to start dripping, and obviously if the temperature rises it's going to melt and it's just going to start dripping on you. So I'm going to put the cover on. I'm putting out some food now to entice the birds. I'm using both sunflower hearts and peanuts, which is a good combination. I'm putting some on this little tree stump and also on the bench. Hopefully the birds will land in the bush before they feed. Time to get wrapped up now because I'm going to be waiting, so once I know the weight's coming, standing still, I'm going to try and get nice and wrapped up. Well, I did get a load of snow down my neck earlier, so that doesn't help. I've got a female blackbird that's just turned up. It was on the ground and then it slowly worked its way up a little bit. And it's just perched there in the bush. It's really, really close. It's just perched there in the bush, been there for ages. It's entirely filling the frame. Got a robin. Oh, that's gorgeous. I don't know if there's a twig in the way. I think there's a twig in the way. But I'm still shooting because, you know, you just got to give yourself the best possible chance. I'm going to sneak slightly this way. Ah, he's off. Great. Quick, go. I'm really struggling today. I'll be honest, I'm really struggling. They're often sort of lower down in the middle, sort of middle height, and it's just so cluttered and it's really hard to find the birds. It's really hard to find them with a big lens, and sometimes by the time you find them, they're literally just off. Just as you get on it, the bird's just off, which is really frustrating. But like anything, it's just, you just have to stick with it. You just got to persevere. So the technique that I basically like to use is I'm just going to I'm pointing kind of towards the middle of this bush really, just in the general area where the birds are going to be landing, and I'm trying to keep my head really close to the viewfinder. So I'm not got my eye to the viewfinder, so the idea is I want to be able to see what's coming and get a view, but I want to be able to react quickly. So if I keep my head just like really, really close to the camera, then I can react quicker. I can quickly get my eye to the viewfinder, hopefully get the shot. Listen to that nuthatch. So loud. A jay. A jay's just flew in. He's behind the bush. I can't get a clear view of him. Oh, my glasses are steaming up. So in terms of my exposure, I'm doing everything manually today. That's mainly because the light's so consistent, it's barely changing at all. You know, no clouds coming and going or anything like that. So I've got, oh, it's wet, oh, it's getting wet on here. At the moment I've got ISO 3200. That's a fairly high ISO. I'm needing to do that to give myself a shutter speed of about 400ths of a second. Which I think is generally fast enough for these kinds of shots. If you've got a good technique and you just keep taking enough pictures, that's often a fast enough shutter speed for perched birds. And then I've got an aperture of f5, so it's just, I'm just sort of closing the aperture down just a little bit, just for a little bit more depth of field. And that depth of field becomes more important when you get closer. Everything's getting closer, it's making the depth of field even smaller. But that depends how you like the look of your image. And the focus point I'm using today is the spot focus. That seems to almost never use the subject tracking on this camera. I can assure you I do in the right conditions, but in this situation it's just so busy. I just find using a simple spot focus is better. This dog's got pajamas on. Okay, so I've got some reasonable shots there, not too bad, but I'm going to try something different. And what I mentioned earlier was about something a bit different about today with the snow, and that is simply the autumn colours. Because we have got some really good autumn colour hanging on the trees, and that is quite unusual because how often do you get snow and autumn colour at the same time? Like in this country, it often snows probably January, February a lot of the time, and that autumn colour's just gone. So we're still in November now, we've still got some fantastic colour here, and particularly this tree, this yellow tree is just absolutely stunning. And this twisted tree just below it, with all those twisted branches and the snow covering those branches. To get a bird in there would just be amazing for that, just that overall scene and that contrast and colour. The leaves on the woodland floor are actually very colourful as well. What we're going to do is try and go for some bigger birds, but I'm particularly thinking jay. But also magpies, there's been a few magpies, so I think there's a fair chance of that. Also there's been some stock doves around, which there often are here. I'm going to put some food out here again. I'm putting most of the food here behind the tree roots so it won't show up in the pictures, and hopefully it'll encourage the birds onto here. I think this is a really nice setting. I've now taken the extension tube off as everything's further away. But hopefully we'll get a jay or a magpie up there.
I don't think so. No, 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 no. I don't think so. No, 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 no. It's never, ever, 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 ever gonna happen.
The grey squirrels are already on it. It's just so photogenic there. I'm just looking at the tree root the squirrel's on. It's so photogenic with that tree root and the leaves behind it, the colour. loads of stock doves. Oh, there must be like 6, 7, maybe 8 stock doves. I used to think they were wood pigeons years ago. I never noticed, but they're a bit smaller and slimmer. They're really, really nice. These stock doves just look absolutely amazing with that background in the leaves, or particularly on the tree root, which I knew was going to look good. That orange background is just absolutely incredible. Loving those shots. Really nice. I have actually switched to my subject tracking now, so I'm using one of the large zones. So I'm using either large zone vertical or large zone horizontal. I'm trying them both out, and they both work okay. But this is actually tracking the bird. That snow is melting rapidly. I don't know how long I've got to try and get this shot, because that's what appealed to me. The whole point is the snow on the branches. There's really only a couple of branches where it's going to work, and it's melting quickly. The snow was melting and it's pretty much all gone from what I had when I arrived, which is beautiful. It's pretty much all gone. In fact, there's only a few places I can see the snow, one of which is on the branches of this tree, believe it or not. There's some absolutely beautiful light coming through now. I think it's about 1:30, around about there, and the sun's just trying to break through that cloud. So you've got nice, weak, soft light, but the light levels are still really low, particularly here under the trees. It's been very, very dark. And, oh, robin. Damn, mirrorless cameras. Oh, maybe. The reason I was getting frustrated is because it wouldn't focus, and that's just sometimes the thing. Sometimes with mirrorless cameras and tracking systems, they just don't focus, but the majority of the time they do. But in that situation I had to quickly flick to getting tired now. I had to quickly flick to spot focus. It's a belter as well. It's an absolute belter. I'm just zooming in to see how it looks cropped. I'm going to crop that image down for sure. You'll see the back of the camera as well as the cropped version, so you know how much I've cropped it, but it looks really nice. Simple. And this is the thing, if you can just use simple things, like if you find somewhere that's just a little bit raised on the ground like this, like a tree root, is ideal. Maybe a rock, a boulder, it helps separate the bird a bit from the background. Well, I think that's pretty much every bit of snow that has gone now. There's a little bit left on my Jay/magpie perch. I'm going to wait until that last bit of snow is melted to go, because I might as well. Unfortunately, no jays or magpies have come down or come into this tree. I might not have got a jay or a magpie, but one of the stock doves did land on the tree. I think if I'd have done this earlier on, I think I would have probably got it, I really do, and give myself a bit more time, I think it would have probably happened. But you can't do everything. I'm going to put another video up on the screen for you to watch, which again is all about small bird photography and getting them onto perches. I'll see you over there. Thanks for watching this one. Dog's got pyjamas on.